Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and Pokemon fans of the world, Mega Crasher's here to bring to you a very special top 10 video that features things that make absolutely no sense in Pokemon. Now, before I get on with this video, I would like to give a big shout out to my friend David, aka Hearts Gaming, who actually made a video like this yesterday. So, if you haven't checked it out already, guys, I'll leave a link in the description box down below. It's pretty damn good. It's actually quite hilarious, if you ask me. I'll also link you guys to his channel, because I want to see him get 500 subscribers. That would make him happy, that'd make me happy. So, with that being said, strap yourselves in, get a nice big bag of imaginary popcorn, get a nice big thing of imaginary soda with whipped cream on top. Wait a sec, I don't think that's a thing. Whipped cream on soda? Hey, that could be a new thing. I might try it out one of these days. Anyways, with that being said, I would also like to say that I do apologize for looking like poo. I just rolled out of bed, so I got bedhead. And also, this is in no specific order. These are all just strictly top 10 things that, in my opinion, make no sense in Pokemon. So, roll the footage! Woo! Number 10. So coming in at number 10 is Lugia. Okay, so you're probably wondering, how did Lugia make this list? Well, it's known as the Guardian of the Sea. It is depicted, not just in the anime, but in the games too that we play, that this is a Pokemon that lives in the sea. You can see it swimming, you can see it diving. It is even known as the diving Pokemon. So why on earth did Game Freak decide to give it a psychic flying typing? Why? Wouldn't it make more sense to give it a water flying typing? Oh, and before people start arguing and saying, oh, well, it used telepathy in the movie that it was in. Okay, well, so did other Pokemon. So did Pokemon like Lucario, Pokemon like Darkrai, Pokemon like Shaman. Are you gonna say that they should be psychic types too? No. So, it doesn't exactly make sense as to why this thing is a psychic flying typing. Allow me to show you guys a couple of other things right now. So we can see here that by the Pokedex entries, all of these Pokedex entries depict of the fact that this thing lives under the sea. It lives in a very deep underwater trench. Let's take a look at the locations where we find this thing. There you go. In Gold, Silver, Crystal, we gotta find it in Whirl Islands. In the Fire Red, Leaf Green, we gotta find it in Naval Rock. Emerald, Naval Rock. Omega Ruby, Alpha Sapphire, we need to find it in Sea Mobile. Well, more specifically, Alpha Sapphire. Still not enough for you? Let's take a look at this. Let's take a look at its move sets here. So the moves that I can learn. You see moves like Rain Dance, Hydro Pump, and let's see the moves that we can teach it. We can teach it moves like Surf, Waterfall, Dive. How about by breeding? Well, it can't breed, but even by tutoring, this thing learns Aqua Tail and Water Pulse. So, why on earth did Game Freak decide to make it a psychic flying? It would have made perfect sense if it was water and flying. Wouldn't you guys agree? Number 9! So coming in at number 9 is going to be Ghastly. So how did Ghastly wind up on such a strange list like this? Well, first off, let's take a look at the typing. It's Ghost and Poison. And it's known as the Gas Pokemon. Okay, that kind of makes sense. You know, gas is kind of poisonous, and it even has a ghostly look to it. And it is clearly a ball of gas with a face. So, how did this Pokemon make this list? Okay, so the thing doesn't have arms, right? Yet it can learn Sucker Punch. I'm pretty sure a punch involves a fist, right? But the thing doesn't have arms, clearly. And take a look down here. It can learn the Elemental Punches. Seriously, this thing can learn the Elemental Punches, yet it doesn't have arms. Wow. Good job, Game Freak. Look at this. Yeah, look at this shit. Wow. Okay. Number 8. So, time for number 8. And that consists of 2 Pokemon, Wooper and Pokmon Black. Wooper is a Pokemon that is water ground, and it is the pre-evolution of Quagsire. You can tell this thing clearly has no arms. Yet, allow me to show you something. Right there. It can learn Ice Punch. How does something with no arms learn Ice Punch? That is like with number 9. Ghastly can learn punching moves, and Quagsire can learn Ice Punch. Seriously? Let's go ahead and take a look at Pokmon Black. Yes, there you go. See? Look, this thing clearly has arms made out of ice, and yet it can learn Ice Punch. Wow. Chalk up another thing that makes perfect sense in the Pokemon world. Well, need I say more about it? That is a big WTF right there. So, that concludes number 8. Lucky 7! So coming in at number 7 is going to be Charizard. So, how did Charizard make this list? Well, let's take a look at it. It is a fire flying typing, and it clearly has wings, and is depicted multiple times, not just in the anime, but in the games too, that this thing flies. Okay? This thing flies. So, how did this thing make the list? Well, allow me to show you something. So if we go down here to the trivia, we go down to the second line here. It says, Yellow is the only Generation 1 Pokemon game in which Charizard can learn Fly, though it still can be traded to the older games. So that right there implies that in Pokemon Red and Blue, and Green, if you're lucky enough to have a game like that, it doesn't learn Fly. How can something like this learn Fly? Really? Really? This thing has wings, and yet it couldn't learn Fly in the older generations, aside from Yellow version. Wow. That makes no sense. That makes absolutely no sense. Let's move on. Numero 6. Number 6 is going to be Doduo. So, Doduo is a normal flying typing. That right off the bat starts to make me scratch my head a little bit. Okay, so it clearly looks like a bird, but it doesn't have any wings. Okay, maybe I'm going a little bit too harsh on this. Until I show you this. Yes, you guys see it? You see this shit? How on earth does this thing not have wings, yet it learns things like Steelwing and Fly? What exactly are you using to hit a Steelwing with? Seriously, do you have like some sort of invisible wings or some shit like that? Wow. And how about Fly? Seriously, how do you fly? Do you guys move your heads like propellers or something like that? I mean, I don't understand it. I don't understand. Wow. That right there is like a huge WTF right there. So, I got nothing more to say about that. Holy shit. You can't see me. Oh, I mean number 5. Number 5 consists of Behem. How did Behem make this list? Well, first off, let's take a look at the typing. It's a psychic type. Now let's take a look at the design. So it clearly looks like a humanoid/alien Pokemon. Okay, but how on earth did this Pokemon make the list? How about because of the fact that TM51 contains Steelwing? This thing learns Steelwing. How on earth does a Pokemon with no wings like Behem learn Steelwing? Are you kidding me? How? How, Game Freak? Do you guys have some sort of hidden logic that we're not grasping? Now, I do understand that in the previous generation games, such as Black and White, there was a TM called Ally Switch, which happened to have been TM51. And in later games, it got converted to Steelwing. So I guess Game Freak forgot to take out that little bit of coding. But either way, it still leaves us with the huge WTF moment. Something that makes absolutely no sense when you look at it from the outside looking in. Number 4! So, the Pokemon that makes the list at number 4 is going to be none other than Canine. So there's actually a couple of things for Canine that has made it this far on the list. So first off, its Pokedex entry says it's the legendary Pokemon. But this thing is not a legendary. This thing is not a legendary Pokemon. It does not have legendary stats. It does not have a base stat total of 580, 600, 680, whatever you want to call it. Allow me to show you. Now you see the base stats right here. It has a base stat total of 555. Okay, so that's kind of cutting it a bit close, but not quite. You have legendaries that have base stat totals of 580. Trio legendaries, for example. You have legendaries that have a base stat total of 600, being event or mythical legendaries, and you have the title legendaries, which have base stat totals of 670 or 680. But this thing doesn't even come close to having stats like 600 or 680. Has base 555 stats. And I'm not knocking on these stats. They're actually pretty damn good. They're actually very, very good. Like, there's no bad stat that this Pokemon has. Now, speaking of stats, this actually brings up point number 2 as to why Canine's on the list. You take a look at its base 95 speed. Base 95 speed, that's actually not that bad. It's actually not that bad. But allow me to show you something. So if we take a look at the Pokedex entries, more specifically Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire, Canine is known for its high speed. It is said to be capable of running over 6,200 miles in a single day and night. So, this Pokemon's known for its high speed, eh? It's known for the fact that it's a very fast and speedy Pokemon that runs over 6,000 miles in the run of a day. But yet it has a base 95 speed, which you got Pokemon that have speeds of over base 95 that are not once depicted in the anime, in the game, in Pokedex entries, nothing, as being a relatively fast Pokemon. But something like Canine. Canine is depicted as a very, very speedy Pokemon, but its base speed stat's only 95. However, I will say that this Pokemon does get extreme speed, which makes perfect sense. But wouldn't you want to follow that up with some awesome speed stats, like maybe 125 or maybe 120? Something like that, something that's really fast and would actually give it a base stat total of 580 if you give it 120 speed. It would make perfect sense. However, getting back to the whole legendary part of this thing, legendary Pokemon are known to not evolve, yet Growlithe evolves into Canine. So, how does that make any sense whatsoever? Tell me. That's something that I've been wanting to know for a long time. So that concludes point number 4. Number 3. 3 members of the Shield. Now, coming in at number 3, more or less has to do with something pretty special that a lot of people tend to overlook when it comes to analyzing Pokemon. That being weight. So, let's go ahead and take a look at Diglett. Diglett is a ground-type Pokemon. It is the mole Pokemon. Now let's go ahead and take a look at the weight right here. So it's 1.8 pounds. Okay. 1.8 pounds. That seems like it makes sense to me. But you want to know something that makes no sense? Allow me to show you something. Dugtrio. Dugtrio is the evolved form of Diglett. And Dugtrio is the result of 3 Diglett triplets. Now, if we multiply 1.8 by 3, that's 5.4 pounds. Yet, we take a look down here, look at this. The weight is 73.4 pounds. Okay. Can somebody please tell me how on earth that makes any sense? Seriously. I don't understand. It's actually one of the first things that I noticed about Diglett and Dugtrio when they first came out, when I first played Pokemon back in the good old days when I was a tiny little Beldum flying around the house being all hyperactive. But yeah, 73.4 pounds. That makes no sense. Like, how did this even happen? I don't understand it. I don't understand it. But then again, we don't know what the underside of Diglett and Dugtrio look like. So, I don't know. Maybe that's something that Game Freak will reveal later on down the road. Number 2! So coming in at number 2, Cryogonal has made this list. And you're probably wondering, how did it make this list? Okay, so first off, let's take a look. It is an ice typing, and a very pissed off looking one at that. Let's take a look at the gender. Okay, it's genderless. Okay, we have quite a few genderless Pokemon. So, how did Cryogonal make this list? Well, allow me to show you. Because of this right here, TM45, Attract. Attract only works if you have a gender. Attract is a move that attracts the opposite sex, literally. But a genderless Pokemon cannot attract any Pokemon regardless of any gender. It can't even attract other genderless Pokemon. So, why on earth did Game Freak decide to give it Attract? Really? Really? That makes no sense! That makes absolutely no sense! Like, holy crap. That just, oh my god. Like, I got a good kick out of that when I first discovered that. I was just scratching my head like crazy. I'm just like, what the fuck, Game Freak? Really? Okay, I'm not going to spend any more time on here. Allow me to reveal number 1. There can only be one! So coming in at number 1 belongs to a Cavalier. A Cavalier. Okay, how did this Pokemon make the list? Well, first off, let's take a look at it. It is a Bug Steel type, and it looks pretty damn cool. So, allow me to take a look at a Pokédex entry that really should match up with its stats. So let's take a look at the Pokédex entries. More specifically, Pokmon Black. They fly around at high speed. Okay, high speed. That would imply that this thing was going to be somewhat of a speedy Pokemon, correct? Well, allow me to show you something different. That being its stats. Okay, so we're at the stats here. So, yeah, about that, really high speed, base 20. Okay. Ferrothorn has that speed, and it is slow as dirt. Are you trying to tell me that this Pokemon in the Pokédex entry is supposed to be flying around at high speed, has base 20 speed? Okay. I don't know what their definition of high speed is. If they mean snail's pace, then okay, then that's, I don't even know! I don't even know what to say about this anymore! This is a huge WTF right here, Pokemon Game Freak. So there you have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this video. Top 10 things in Pokemon that make no sense. Now, like I said before, and I'll say it again, this list was in no specific order. These were just top 10 things that I grabbed from a bunch of things and decided to compile a list. Now, I would like to say that this is also strictly opinion-based. If you have anything to say in the description box down below, any ideas whatsoever for another top 10 list that involves things that make no sense in Pokemon, then please feel free to do so. And also, once again, I'd like to give a big shout out to my friend David from Ace of Hearts Gaming. I cannot wait to work with you, my friend. I can't wait to work with you in a couple of weeks when we do part 2 of top 10 things that make no sense in Pokemon. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If you have, then give it a thumbs up. And be sure to rate, comment, and subscribe to Mega Crasher and the community. As we're a community that, when tightly knit as one, we shine brighter than the sun. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed, and I shall see you guys next upload!